Hello and welcome to EBA Day TV, and today I'm speaking to Dean Sposito of Deutsche Bank, and we're going to be talking about a very timely topic right at the moment, the European market. So, can you give us, a bit of an overview of what the industry looks like in Europe right at the moment?
Look, obviously we're living in very challenging times in Europe. Macroeconomically, it is really very, very challenging. You've got issues around it is, I would say, heterogeneous. So you have certain countries within the EU that are still performing relatively well, like Germany, but others that are deeply in recession. So we have times of structural change. That has a direct influence also on our business. So cash management, payments, is directly correlated with the real economy. So we're also a bit of a barometer for what's happening in the real economy. That obviously presents us with challenges because we're living in an environment where we need to navigate through difficult times, yet stay true to our clients, and also strategically look at how we're moving the business, what is our vision for the future, and standing by our clients. In addition to the macroeconomic environment, of course, we have a lot of regulatory change. So in the regulatory environment is also causing us to invest greatly just in mandatory projects. So those are things that are not necessarily, let's say, feature rich, but just investments we need to make. That's also very much, at the moment, defining what the industry is like. And we need to do that. There's little return around that. It's just, something you have to do. So again, that's interesting because you have banks that want to now break into transaction banking. It's a stable business, it's an annuity flow, it's attractive, especially in volatile times like we saw during the financial crisis. Yet I feel also through the regulatory side, there are also very high barriers to entry. So you need to really make a business case. And probably now more than ever, it's time for the banks also define who they are and what they want to be for their clients.
So what exactly does this mean then for the European cash management business?
I think the impact is the following. On the one side, you have a business that is becoming more regulated. You do have consumer protection coming in with the SEPA. We can also talk about that later, or the Single Euro Payments Area, SEPA. We can talk about that afterwards. That is, by definition, low value, low margin, high volume. And then you have to complement that by cross-border global flows. So it's really getting the mix right, but you need to have the business mix to make that equation work. So I think, the global players, the real strong Euro cash management providers, are probably in a good position because I think they can leverage the strengths they have. They can leverage the robust infrastructure. Now not speaking specifically to Deutsche Bank, but we're one of the key players there. For other banks wanting to enter that space, they need to really ask themselves, are they going to make it, in that environment? So it is reshaping the industry, and it's presenting, exactly that business which looks very attractive, a lot of challenges.
So of course, these are volatile times for Europe, and this is a pretty volatile week. But if you could bring out your crystal ball, what are we going to look? What does the market look like the rest of this year in 2012?
Yeah, I think this year, I have to say, it's not even also necessarily defined only to the euro. So if we look, I was speaking now about regulatory. If we look now even just across the ocean to the United States of America, we have FATCA coming, right? We also have a section of the Dodd-Frank Act, which actually does also have an effect on cash management, on payments, on remittances by U.S. consumers. There's a lot of things coming down the pipe. I think 2012, by definition, will be working through a difficult macroeconomic environment. So we need the staying power. This is also not a fly-by-night business. So we work through these cycles. It's sustainable, it's long-term, we want to stand by our clients, so we just have to work through it. But we have that as a definite challenge. The second one would be regulatory. These are things we just need to get through. So, there's no way around it. We've got to be ready for SEPA. Now there's been some end dates set, which I think, by the way, is a good thing, because now we really kind of in the evolution of SEPA, we see now that we're kind of, nearing or the next phase where it's really going to move to substantial volume. And it's still going to take some time, but we are getting there. We need to be ready for that. Certain things in the PSD, the PSD now is pretty far along, the Payment Services Directive. But then with, let's say, FATF even, on filtering messages for anti-money laundering, we have some new regulations coming in. It's going to be a year, I think, where we have to pay attention to those, because those are not nice to haves, those are musts. Getting through the macroeconomic environment, and then thirdly, and probably, frankly, still most importantly, is also staying close to the clients and continuing to innovate and build out the business if you can. Now, in our business, I'm running the cash management for FIs. It's a bit of an interesting space because my clients have very similar issues to ours. So, these are also the times where we work very closely together, where we are really interacting, showing thought leadership, showing innovation, but also consulting and working with them. And I think now more than ever, it is really a people's business. And I think the service that you give to clients is appreciated and also honored.
How exactly does EBA clearing address Deutsche Bank's needs?
I mean, EBA clearing specifically, is just an absolutely core market infrastructure in the EU and in the euro currency. So essentially, you cannot think about euro clearing without EBA. Mm-hmm. And that's how I see it. It's robust, it's stable, it's innovative, it's critical to the bank's success. And basically all major euro players are members of EBA and do clearing through EBA. And one of the things, that I think EBA will also continue to basically raise its profile is really through the SEPA. Because the SEPA will eventually become really the low-value payments clearing network, also for national payments, for domestic payments. And that'll be the key driver. If you think about a country like Germany, when Germany really gives up its heritage national infrastructure and moves really its domestic clearing to SEPA, then we're in an entirely different ballgame, and that's EBA. So again, I think it's critical, it's robust, they've done a great job, and it is really key to the euro and to the success of the payments infrastructure in Europe.